All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's live. I'm running about 30 seconds behind schedule, and it has been a real scramble to get going. So hopefully everything runs smoothly tonight. So I look forward to chatting to some of you, especially some of you that are joining for the first time. So over on YouTube, over on Facebook, excited to see anyone that's joining along. I have got a new mic arm that's sitting up here out of screen, so hopefully the audio is coming through clear. I love for people just to let me know video is working, audio is working as per normal. We'll jump right into the quiz, so I'll make sure that question's up for those that are joining us. So tonight's quiz question is, what is the deadline to lodge your tax return if lodging yourself for 2020/2021? So that's tonight's question. So if anyone has an answer, chuck it in the comments and we'll see who gets it right. So for those that are new here, if it's their first time joining, or if it's your 10th time joining, or 13th time, I think we're on tonight's episode is number 13. So what happens, we pretty much run through, we have our live quiz at the start. We'll go through a topic. So tonight's topic is, are large tax refunds actually a good thing? So a pretty interesting topic right now being tax time. I wanted to go through that one. And then what I'll do is go through any questions that are asked through the week, and you've got the chance to ask questions. So whether you're watching over on Facebook, whether you're watching on YouTube, go and chuck your question in the comments and I will get to it. So like I said, tonight's quiz topic is obviously going to be tax related since we are in tax time. So we've got, what is the deadline to lodge your tax return if lodging yourself for 2020/2021? So you can answer, like I said, Facebook, YouTube. So we've got a couple questions, couple answers coming through here. So we've got one guess for October. So that would be the 31st of October, 2021. We've got another one for October. So D, 31st of October, 2021. That one's proving popular. Does anyone think it's 31st of December, 15th of May, or 1st of November? Any guesses for that? And what I'm talking about here also is this is for if you're lodging yourself. So there are different due dates if you're lodging through an agent. And this is just a basic. There definitely is different due dates for different situations. Things like if you've lodged on time in the past, or if you've got outstanding returns, that can help affect the due date. And then different types of companies, larger companies have different due dates. And yeah, a few things like that can help affect it. So we've got a couple guesses coming through. So what I'll do, I will jump into tonight's answer. And it's actually a bit of a trick one. So the answer is the 1st of November, 2021. So we've got a couple of you that were close with that 31st of October. But this year, the 31st of October actually falls on a weekend. I believe it falls on a Sunday. So what happens, you get an extra couple, or an extra day in this case, and it'll be due on the 1st of November. So yeah, a bit of an interesting one that's people were almost right. I'll almost give you half a point for that one. But pretty much the ATO are a little bit generous. If a due date does fall on a weekend, typically the due date will then be extended to the Monday. So if you are lodging your own return through MyTax, I think it's called, through the MyGov system, then make sure you've got it in by the 1st of November, because that is a due date. If you're later than that, you'll be flagged as late, potentially get fined. They could add interest. And also they may then give you that earlier due date again the next year, even if you go through an agent. So like I said, is if you do go through an agent, you will get an extended date in most situations. So as a tax agent myself, on the 1st of July, I can go in, I can log in and see my clients' due dates. And therefore, if I do have clients that do have an early due date, which definitely does happen, like I said, there are situations, then I can get in contact with them and say, look, we've only got until the 1st of November. Still gives us about 4 months there to get the return done, but making them aware that, okay, this is the due date. And so me as an agent, I have to meet so many due dates to keep my agent license, to make sure that the ATO are happy that going, you're representing us as far as getting tax returns lodged. We want you to hit a certain amount on time. So that's something that's really important to me in my business, is to hit the due dates. So therefore, I will hassle my clients and make sure we get that information and hit those due dates. So last year, I was really happy that by the 15th of May, every single tax return I had in my system was lodged. So that's my goal every year, is to hit the due dates for my clients and make sure that they're not going to get hit with fines and interest. So that's the quiz for tonight. So I hope that one's been a bit of an interesting one. Hopefully anyone that's watching on the replay or watching it live has learned a few things there on due dates for tax returns. So like I said, tonight's topic is going to be tax refunds. So, and in particular, the question of, are tax refunds actually a good thing? So obviously on the face value of that, a refund is good. Everyone wants to get their tax return. They want to get a refund. They don't want a payment. But I want to go through why that's the case, why you get a refund, when refunds actually get paid, and a bit of whether that's actually good. Because, typically, like I said, at face value, refund sounds great, but why you're getting that and have an understanding of that is going to help me understand of whether that's a good thing. And then I will just talk about a bit of tax time. So we're a week into tax time now. My week's been pretty crazy, especially today. And I've got an early morning tomorrow. I've just taken a call 5 minutes before here. I'm recording a video. So I've just finished recording a video and editing that on process as well. So lots of stuff going on, lots of exciting stuff going on. So I appreciate everyone's support. So what I want to talk about here is, why would you get a tax refund? So understanding why you're getting a tax refund is going to help you to establish, well, is that a good thing, or is there something I need to change so that things are a little bit different in future years? So obviously the reason why you get a tax refund is that you've paid too much tax. When you've lodged your tax return, it's a bit like a reconciliation of what's your taxable income, how much tax is due on that, and that tax may be made up of normal income tax. You might have Medicare levy surcharge. It could be things like a HEX repayment. All of that's reconciled into a final tax payable figure. And then what's going to happen is any tax you've had withheld, whether it's your employment income, whether you've paid pay-as-you-go installments, that's going to sit there as a credit. And obviously, tax payable less the credit is going to work out, is there a debt owing, or are you going to hopefully get a refund? So for most people that are just earning a wage, they go in, they get their wage, they get their tax withheld, they have a few basic deductions, and hopefully that tax withheld should cover what tax payable, and they should end up with a small refund. So typically, if you've got no deductions, normally you'd expect that $0 to $1,000 refund, depending on obviously if there's changes to income offsets during the year, or whether you might have dependent children, or how much you've earned. All those things are going to be basic, but you should expect a small refund, typically assuming that your tax withheld has been correct through the year. But what happens when that refund starts to grow? So we end up in a situation where, okay, now you're getting $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 back. What does this mean? Why is that happening? So it obviously means that you've had too much tax withheld. Now, why could that be the case? So typically that'll be because you've claimed more deductions. You might be in an industry where you've had to spend a lot of money for yourself. Therefore, every dollar of deduction is going to reduce your taxable income, therefore reducing the amount of tax payable. Therefore, if you've had the amount withheld based on your full wage, but you've had a lot of deductions, then obviously you should end up with a bigger refund, because your deductions reduce your taxable income, but your tax withheld was based on that higher taxable income. So that would be a typical situation. So in that case, there's probably not a lot that's going to change too much. You're still going to have your normal tax withholding based on the tax tables. You're going to claim your deductions. You're typically going to get a more refund. Now, the situations where maybe a tax refund might not be so good is, what happens if you're having your tax withheld each week, but you've asked for extra tax withheld? So you want an extra $10 a week, to keep it simple. So now all of a sudden over the year, you've had an extra $520 of tax withheld. Now you could get that, assuming, again, nothing else has changed, you're going to get that as a refund there if you didn't need to have that withheld. So that's great. You're getting a big refund, but is that a good thing? So this all comes down to, well, what could have that money been used for ongoing? So typically, people see the tax return as a bit of a forced savings. They can't touch it. So for some people, it is good, because it means that it's money that you wouldn't have had. You would have blown it during the year. But for someone that's good with their money, getting a huge tax refund really means that ATO's had your money and they've had it for that time that you were entitled to it. So if you're not lodging till May next year, that means then you're sitting on a $10,000 refund. You could have had that money ongoing from almost 24 months ago each week, and you could have been investing that. You could have been saving it. It could have gone towards a home. It could have gone to investments. It could have just paid bills. You could have been making use of that money, earning interest on it. It was your money, but you were having it withheld. So having a huge tax refund, it really just means that you've overpaid in tax. And that typically could mean that you've had too much tax withheld, and did you really need to have that withheld? So like I said, it's going to depend whether you're getting that refund through extra deductions, or whether you were getting it through having extra tax withheld. Are you working multiple jobs, which then it gets hard because you don't know, one job doesn't talk to the other. So it's going to depend which withholding rates, whether you've ticked the tax-free threshold. Now that is something that's a video I've just finished recording 5 minutes before this. So keep an eye out this Sunday, hopefully, or Monday, just depends when I get to the editing, of me explaining the tax-free threshold and how that all works. So keep an eye out for that one. But yeah, you can see that while getting a tax refund, it does sound like a good thing. It's just going to mean that you've paid too much tax. So you need to consider, why you're paying too much tax. Are you paying a lot in excess tax? And therefore, is this something you've done that you potentially could reduce and therefore get that money ongoing? So it's just something to consider. It's going to depend how you are with your money as to whether you're good with your money. If you're going to just blow it, then maybe you should get that in a lump sum. But then how many people are getting these lump sums and blowing that anyway and spending it all anyway? Quite often people aren't getting the lump sum and investing it. They're going out and buying new TVs and putting it towards new cars, new assets. They're spending that money quite often anyway. So would have it been better to spend it ongoing? It's really up to you, but it's just something to consider why you're getting that tax refund. Another thing, I can see a few comments, so I might just run through a few of those. So we did have one that come in earlier. So generally it means you've overpaid in taxes, POIG. So I'd say it's not good because you had the money much sooner. And that really does sum up what I've just said. So it definitely means you've overpaid in tax, therefore you're getting a refund. And therefore, what could have you done with that money ongoing? Could have you invested $10 a week? Could have you put $10 a week in a savings account that was going to earn you interest? There's lots of different things that you could have done with that money. So if you're going to continuously pay excess tax, you just want to investigate why is that happening. Typically what happens, one situation that I thought I should bring up, is that people that have got HEX debts, their HEX debt pays off and they never adjust it. They continue to have that higher rate of tax withheld and they get these large refunds, but they could have changed that and they could have had something like an extra $100 a week in their hand. So that's quite a significant amount of money that you might want to consider. You might be going for a loan and you needed that extra money to be able to hit the capacity requirements. So it's just little things like that you might want to consider. So this is a question that I'm going to jump into a few questions as we go here. So I know some use paying extra tax as a way to save and receive a larger tax return. Can they use for holidays or big purchases? Is this really wise? So this kind of sums up everything I've just talked about, is that some people are using tax system as extra savings. So they're going, I'm going to have an extra $20 tax taken out a week. I'm going to forget about it, and therefore I should get an extra $1,000 back at tax time. It's definitely something you can do. If you're not good at saving money, it is a bit of a forced savings, but whether that is the best thing for you, if you could put that $20 away each week into a bank account that you couldn't touch, set up a bank account where the only way you can access is by going into the bank, and therefore you're going to earn a little bit of interest, and you might be $15, $20 a year better off doing it that way. Or if an emergency comes up, you can access that money. You can't lodge your tax return in the middle of March because you need the tax refund earlier. So that's the other risk by using tax as a forced savings, is that money is gone. You can't access it until you lodge your return. So it's just something to consider. But yeah, that is quite common that people will get the tax refund and use it on a big purchase or holiday. So it's definitely a thing. And yeah, all good for those with no willpower to save, perhaps. So it definitely can be a strategy, I suppose, if that's what you want to call it. So I'll just see if we've got any other ones here. I consider a few are different. It's effectively the same considering we can lodge from July. So yes, that's true. So here, I don't mind a large tax refund. Allows me to buy a big chunk of crypto. So, hey, that's the thing. If you're going to get a large tax refund, what are you doing with it? Are you going to just go blow it? Like I said, people are spending on holidays and stuff like that, which is all good if you want to spend your money on that. But some people may get that large refund and choose to invest it. Investing it in crypto, investing it in shares, investing it in property, saving for a house deposit. Sometimes that refund can be put to good use. But then you might go, okay, well, is there a way that I should have been getting this ongoing so I could be investing ongoing or using it ongoing for something I need it for? So things like that. So it's definitely a few different things to consider. I've got one here of how much tax should someone pay on a yearly wage of $115,000? Now, I'm not a calculator in my head, but I can search that one up while we chat. So what's interesting is that based on a taxable income, $115,000 taxable income, most people are going to pay pretty much the same tax. Like I said, it's going to depend if you've got a HEX debt or things like that. But your withholding should be the same if people are earning the same much. But then it depends whether they've ticked boxes. So if they've claimed the tax-free threshold, things like that, or whether they've got HEX debt, like I said, or whether they may be having that extra withholding. So this is something that is interesting when it comes to comparing tax returns and stuff like that, is that not everyone's going to get the same amount back because not everyone's had the same amount withheld. So I'll just try and run through here. So I'll have a look. So $115,000 of income. Now this is just a real quick one, assuming you've got private health. The tax on that is about $30,000. So that's about the tax on $115,000. That's a real rough, quickly made chucking in a calculator there. So there are some good calculators out there. So one that I use is called paycalculator.com.au, I believe. The ATO have a simple tax calculator, so you can put your estimated taxable income in. You can see what the tax payable is on that. Obviously, it's a real basic estimate. It's not going to take into account a lot of things. Pay calculator, you do have a lot of options to pick and choose, whether you've got private health, HECS debt, spouse income, dependent children, all those kind of things. So there's a lot of different things that feed into it. But yeah, good question. So the next thing I want to jump in is to when do tax refunds get paid? So I've lodged returns starting from the 1st of July for those that were lucky enough that their tax stuff was tax ready to go then. And some of those I've checked and they've got an effective refund date of the 13th of July. So we're currently the 7th of July. So I think that is next Tuesday, I believe, off the top of my head. So we'd expect refunds to start flowing through mid next week. It's going to depend, and not everyone that lodged on the same day is going to get their refund on the same day. I've lodged a husband and wife on the same day, and their refunds have come through completely different dates. I've lodged multiple years for the same person, and their refunds have come through at different times. Just depends when they're received in the ATO system. You know, if there's a glitch in the system on the ATO, it can delay. If there's something that flags it as delayed, or sometimes they can just delay for no reason. So I'd expect refunds to start from the middle of next week. And typically, from past experience of the last few years, they've been pretty good at processing these. I'd say typically 1 to 2 weeks from lodgement date, you'd expect your refund. Probably closer to that 1 week stage, hopefully, but they can blow out 2 weeks. And the ATO do give themselves, I believe it's 28 or 30 business days to process a return. So it's just going to depend. Unfortunately, you can't compare what your friend across the road, how quick their refund happened. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. It'd be great if they were a set date from time of lodgement, but that's not how it always works. And like I said, it's going to be from time of lodgement. So if you're not lodging yourself and you're lodging through a tax agent, obviously you need to be aware is when have they actually lodged that return? Have they lodged that straight away, or are they waiting on payment from you? Are they waiting for signature for you? It's just going to depend, and that's obviously when it's filed, that's when it's going to kick in. So if you do have MyGov, you should be able to check to see when they've filed it. Something that I have seen happen before is you don't want to get in the situation where you've signed, you've paid, you've given authority, and your tax agent loses it in their system kind of thing, and it doesn't get filed for a while. That could definitely delay your lodgement. So go on your MyGov account and check to see where your lodgement status is at. So there are a few of the things about tax refunds. I will give a quick plug here to Rooshock Accounting, so my business. So for those that don't know, I do run an accounting business. I definitely lodge tax returns. We've lodged plenty so far. We've got plenty more in progress, and we've got plenty of appointments coming up. Got appointments tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. I think in a few weeks' time, we have some Sunday appointments as well. Phone appointments, online, email, messenger, quite a few different methods. So make sure you do get in touch if you want your tax return lodged, because we're definitely in the process of getting them done. It's really exciting to see some of the refunds this year have been a bit higher than in the past, which is great. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully some of that money will start hitting people's accounts by tomorrow. So yeah, there's been a lot going on for Rooshock Accounting. It's been really exciting. A lot going on this YouTube channel. So like I said, got a new mic arm over here, looking into the process of eventually actually getting a proper camera. So lots of exciting things. We're getting closer to the 1,000 subscriber mark. We're at 834, I think, going into this video. And I think we were on about 790 something about a week ago. So we had a couple of days there. We've got 15 new subscribers. So that was really exciting. So I really appreciate anyone that is new here. Thank you for joining. Anyone that subscribed from day one, I really appreciate that. Make sure you share some of these tax videos out on your Facebook pages to your friends. Get them over here. Let's get more people on here, more in the community, and let's help each other. I love that other people are answering comments in the thing, so that's really cool. So I will jump into, we had a couple more. So do you recommend saving your tax money? So again, that's really up to you what you're going to do. I can't tell you what to do with your own money. But again, it comes back to everything we've talked about is what are you actually using your money for? So it doesn't matter if you're getting that extra $10 a week. How are you spending that? Are you actually making good use of it? Have you covered your bills? That's your first thing. If you're not covering your bills, then that's where the money needs to be redirected. But then, okay, what can you do with that money? Is there something you're saving for? Is it a house? Is it a car? So you're not taking out a car loan. Are you paying off debt? Are you trying to reduce debt, therefore reducing interest? Have you got money that you want to redirect towards investing in crypto, investing in property, investing in shares? What are you doing with your money? And therefore, if you're getting a tax refund, you want to ask yourself all those same questions. This time it may be coming in the form of a lump sum, but what are you doing with that lump sum of money? Are you going to then go and blow it all on food and you're going to go out and just waste it all in one weekend? Or are you putting it towards something like a holiday? There's nothing wrong with doing these big purchases of things that you maybe not had the money through the year, that you're going to go buy some new furniture, or you're going to go on a holiday with your partner, with your kids, with your family. there's definitely uses that you can do with it. But what I would hate to see people do is get this large lump sum of money and just blow it anyway, like they would have if they were getting it ongoing, because that forced savings has just gone. So some people will use it and go, okay, they know I have an annual bill coming in each year and that's how they pay it. It's really up to you how you spend your money. I'm not here to tell you that, but there's definitely different strategies you could in place to make sure you're using it in an effective way. So I did another question here of, do I have to pay tax on my Centrelink payments? So it's going to depend what type of Centrelink payment you're going to get. So if you're getting something like New Start, that is a taxable payment. So I'd really highly recommend anyone that's interested in that kind of stuff on what things are going to get taxed, go and watch my video this weekend that's going to come out on the tax-free threshold, because that's going to be something that's important. So we're going to get some types of Centrelink payments that are taxable. Like I said, New Start, that's going to be taxable. Job Seeker, I think that's what it's called now, which is the old New Start, that's a taxable payment. Some of these other things are going to be taxable. And then there are things that are tax exempt. So I believe carers payment is something that you don't pay tax on. But then a disability support pension is another thing. So it's all different things. So you're going to have to do a search on the ATO website, on the Centrelink website. Hopefully you can find it of, is this payment, so the name of your payment, taxable? And you'll be able to find out if it's taxable or not. Some that are tax exempt, they still do get reported in your tax return. And then some don't get reported at all. So it's just going to depend what the income is, what type of Centrelink payment you're receiving as to what it is. And then there are some confusing ones like parenting payment that even get reported different labels. There's different labels on tax returns. So there's, I believe the Centrelink payments normally go at label 5 and 6. So again, if you're doing your own return, it should pre-fill this information from Centrelink. And if you're lodging through an agent, again, they should be able to get that through their ATO system and pre-fill that into the return. So you should be able to get that information. So that was a couple of questions we had. So I'll jump into a few of the questions we had through the week. Again, if people do want to drop a question, make sure you do that in the comments. So is there a best time to do your tax? The best time to do your tax is when you've got all your information. That's the honest truth. So I've had some people contact me to get their tax done and their information wasn't tax ready. So we're either start because we can do some of it, but we can't finish it off. And then you've got other people that are waiting on interest or shares or private health, and then they've had to go manually chase up information that might have been pre-filled. So it's going to depend whether you're wanting to collect all your information and you're going to make sure you produce that, or whether you're waiting on your providers to provide that information to the ATO. So I've had some people that went and got their own private health statement and gave that to me so we could do the return. Others wanted to just wait till the ATO had that, so we had to wait for their private health provider to give that to the ATO. Same with bank interest. I haven't seen many banks that have made their information available for pre-fill yet, but you can normally get an interest statement through your online banking. So again, it depends how much legwork you want to do. It's going to depend on whether your employment has made your income tax ready. So normally that's got to be done by the 14th of July, but the ATO have given extension this year again to the 31st of July. I know Xero, one of the major software providers that people do payroll through, has had some issues with some of their reporting, unfortunately, this week. So people have delayed being able to make those things tax ready. So just be patient on that, because it definitely means if it's not tax ready, things could change, your income could change. Therefore, you could end up in an amendment position, especially if you do things like salary sacrificing, you've got reportable fringe benefits, things like that. You need to wait till it's tax ready. Otherwise, the information you're lodging is unlikely to be correct, and therefore you're potentially going to have an amendment. And you don't want to get a tax refund and then have to pay some of that back. So patience is the thing. Now, if you have a tax debt, there's a whole nother thing of when you're going to lodge that, but that's a whole nother story. So the best time to do your tax, like I said, is once you've got all the information. No matter if you're going to get a refund or payment, you want to work out where you're going to be at. That's the thing. Because quite often people, like I said, they are waiting on paying off some debt or making a big purchase with a tax refund. So the quicker you can get to know that, but don't get sucked into, unfortunately, you see other accounts promoting, go and get your tax return done on the 1st of July. They don't care. They're just going to lodge it anyway. They want to get their money in. Make sure you're checking that your things are tax ready before you lodge your return. So we had a couple other questions here, but I think we have answered them of, do I pay tax on my Centrelink, and do you recommend saving tax money? So we have had a few of those questions asked. I'll see if there's any other comments here. I think I've got back to most of them. So if anyone does have any questions, do chuck them in the comments before we finish up tonight's live. And I will just give you a bit of a rundown of what else is going on. Like I said, video coming out this Sunday on the tax-free threshold. So explaining what the tax-free threshold is, and then talking about should you tick that tax-free threshold box on your tax file number declaration when you're starting a new job. and explaining some of those other low and middle income tax offsets that you have. And then I'm also going to talk briefly about what the effective tax-free threshold is in Australia. So hopefully that one will be value. And like I said, I'm doing a lot of tax returns at the moment. So if people want to get in touch to get that done, and also any crypto stuff, I've dealt with a lot of different crypto stuff. I'm dealing with a couple new crypto tax software. So one in particular is an Australian one, Crypto Tax Calculator. So that looks really promising. There's a really good team behind that one. So I'm really interested in that. So that's something else that's going on. So I'll keep tonight's live pretty short because I've got to jump back on and do some more work. So I do appreciate anyone that's joined. I hope it's provided you with some value. Take a check out of some other videos on my channel, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Thank you.